All right, Ali, I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to you about this because it is a very hot topic. What is going on with climate change, in your opinion?
So there's a lot going on with climate change. Look, we've had 10 of the hottest years have been in the last 12 years. That's the reality.
I feel every year of it. It has been hot.
We're here in July in Texas. It's like over 100 degrees every day. But remember, we're not saying global warming. We're saying climate change for a reason.
What about that congressman? Remember, I keep really track of the media. He had that snowball. What was that about?
Congressman Inhofe from Oklahoma. So it was really funny, in my opinion. Snowing in D.C., he goes to the floor of Congress. He says, we hear all this about global warming, and it's much ado about nothing, because look, it's snowing in D.C. And by God, if it's snowing in D.C., climate change must not be real.
He actually brought a snowball in to get his point across.
Yes, he did. And he said, here, Mr. President, catch. And President obviously wasn't there. So see,
It definitely brought a lot of attention onto the subject. So give me your opinion.
So look,
because there are a lot of skeptics.
Climate change gives you extreme conditions, extreme heat. Where it's hot, it's going to get hotter. Where it's cold, it's going to get colder. Here's the reality. We're expecting, so the whole Paris Accord, where they talked about reducing carbon emissions, and all of these countries came together. Do you know what their goal was as far as increase in our temperature over the next 100? 2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Really?
If we meet that goal, we're going to have 3 to 10% more rain in areas that are already flooding.
Really? And are we to contribute to that?
We're big time to contribute to that. But I want to make sure that people know, even if we meet our goal in increasing the temperature by 2 degrees Fahrenheit, there's going to be 200 to 300% more wildfires in places in Western United States.
Because it's so hot outside.
Because there's drought. So people say, well, more rain, I could take that, especially if you're in California, but the challenge isn't you're getting more rain. Challenge is, if you're in drought, you're getting more drought. If you're in rain, you're getting more rain. And if you're in heat, like we are in Dallas, well, it's only gonna get hotter. And like we talked about, the 10 hottest years have been in the last 12 years. So this particular congressman was in 2014. 2015 was hotter than that. 2016 was hotter than that.
And in your opinion, again, are we to contribute to that? Why is it getting hotter?
So look, consensus means a lot when our lives hang in the balance. If a doctor came to you, opened up the door and said, I'm sorry, I've got bad news, you've got 6 months to live, but there's a chance, there's a study, and there's 97% chance that it's going to succeed. And if I asked you to raise your hand, which we do at any event that I go to, every single hand goes up, because 97% chance of success, 3% chance of failure, we're all going to die anyway. Why not take that chance?
So what can we do to help?
But get this, the consensus, for some reason, when it comes to climate science, doesn't matter. Because 97% of people that study climate, that look at the data, that are experts in this field, believe, A, there's climate change, and over 90% believe that human activity is contributing to it. So if doctors said it to you, you would believe it.
So let's touch on that human activity. What are we doing that's contributing to these extreme temperature changes?
We're doing a lot. So number one, two major causes, two major contributors of carbon dioxide, CO2 gases in the climate. Number one, it's livestock industry. So every time we have a burger, we're contributing to climate change.
What?
Absolutely.
Every time I eat a burger, I'm making the...
And we're in Texas, and I love steaks, and you're going to have to get a steak out of my cold dead hand. I mean, I love my meat. So I'm not saying get rid of that, but what my wife and I did, look, when we started studying this, we said we've got to do something. We've got to make a little small change that might make a bigger impact. What we did was started eating a little bit more fish, a little bit more seafood.
That's pretty impressive, Ali, that you're taking the personal responsibility for the entire world on your back.
And if
should we all follow in your footsteps? No, touch more on that. So, okay, change. Again, what is the livestock doing to the climate
It's natural
change?
gases, right? And it's what they're fed. So things can be done to mitigate that. But it costs more money. What they're being fed has to be changed. And of course, if I'm a farmer and there's no mandate for me to change, why am I going to change?
Wow, this is such big
and
picture,
the other
big
thing
scope.
is,
I'm so glad we're talking about
exactly,
this. It blows my mind.
There is no mandate. You know why there's no mandate? Because they've got a huge farm lobby, right? So again, I don't want to get into politics. My point is, when anybody that's watching this video, anybody that this message reaches out to, I want them to make small changes, right? So first, we've got to look at it and go, is climate change real? And I want them to do their own research. Google it. Google NASA and climate change and look at their research. And there are international organizations that do believe that humans, 90% of them or more, that believe that humans are contributing to it. So one is livestock industry.
So we all need to go vegetarian.
No, no, I'm not doing that. So one is livestock industry, right? And livestock industry, by the way, emits more CO2 than cars, trains, planes, and ships combined.
Really?
Combined.
All right, we'll have to do our research and look that up.
Absolutely.
What's the second thing we can do?
So the other thing is the biggest contributor of CO2 gases is fossil fuels. You've got natural gas, you've got oil, and you've got coal. If I were to ask you, what do you think is, in fossil fuel, what do you think is the biggest contributor of CO2 in climate? What would you guess?
Gosh, tell me.
It's electricity. It's not our transportation, believe it or not. So as much as we talk about heavy dependence on oil and fossil fuels, burning fossil fuels, it's our consumption of electricity that is the #1 use of fossil fuels. So if you want to make an impact, we're not even talking solar. Do little things like change out your light bulbs to LED. If you have old appliances, change them out. If you have an old AC, get a new high energy efficiency AC. Right? And those things are fairly affordable to do. The little things like the seals around your house, if you've been living in it for a while, that's leaking out energy all day. You can replace that. They're not even $10 at HEB, Home Depot, right? But you can replace things like that, tiny things that can make an impact. Here's another one. We've got to, see, we live in a world where we're in a world of abundance, right? You flip on the light, power comes on.
Absolutely.
You turn on the faucet, water comes out.
Completely taking it for granted.
Exactly. Much of the world, especially the developing world, does not have that available to them. So a lot of Southeast Asia already has very limited access to clean water. And by 2025, many of those cities will have zero access to clean water, zero.
Really?
Right? So we've got to be mindful of that and make little changes that can make a big impact. Here's an example. I'm sure anybody watching, both you and I, brushed our teeth this morning.
Sure did,
Hopefully. What we're supposed to do is brush our teeth for 2 minutes. And what many people do, and what I did, and I got to confess to that before I started researching this, was leave the tap on.
Yeah.
I want warm water, right? Leave the tap on. Well, our tap flows 2 to 3 gallons of water per minute. So in those 2 minutes, I just wasted 6 gallons twice a day. So per person, you're wasting anywhere from 250 to 300 gallons of water, clean, drinkable water per month, per person. If it's a family of 4, over 1,000 gallons is lost. Now again, we look at it and go, well, yeah, but I'm paying next to nothing per gallon. Why do I care, right? Well, we care because it's literally water that could be consumed by others in the world. So
isn't that water being recycled?
You're absolutely right. Some of that water is being recycled, but not a lot of it, right? So some of the water that we're putting down through our tap, it's being recycled. But then there are other places, like when we're gardening, right, or when our sprinklers are on. That water is not being recycled.
I've seen my neighbors, they have their sprinklers on and it's raining outside.
Yes, a lot of people do, right?
It's just an unconscious thing.
And an average sprinkler head will flow 8 gallons of water per minute. So if you're watering for 10 minutes, which...
Per minute?
Per minute.
Per minute?
Per minute. So if you're watering your lawn for 10 minutes, that's 80 gallons of water per sprinkler head that you're putting out, which our lawns need. Like I said, we're in Texas. It's hot out here. But does it need to be done when it's raining? Or does it need to be done when it's noon and it's extremely high impact, right? Water your lawns during off-peak times, like in the morning or at night, so the water actually gets consumed by the plants and the grass.
Very, very good point. Okay, let's go back to the climate change portion. So the extreme temperatures, and for those of you that don't know what climate change is, can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So what climate change is these gases, greenhouse gases, are being emitted into the climate, into the environment, and they're trapping heat. So heat comes in through the sun and then it goes out. Well, a lot of it is getting trapped, and that's what's causing the warming. That's what's causing the glacial retreats and the snow caps to be melted in both the North and the South Pole, right? The evidence is right in front of us, and I'll give you a couple of examples. Sea level, in the last 100 years, rose 7 inches. Okay. In the last 10 years, we've doubled that rate. So
wow.
dramatic impacts are happening.
We're doing something.
We're doing something.
And we need to do something right. So what can we do at home besides going vegetarian, besides camping and not using any electricity at all?
Yeah, live in the dark and live off the land and you'll be okay. No, look, we don't realistically expect anybody to make any drastic changes because it's just not realistic, right? So of course we're all gonna eat meat, especially in Texas. We're gonna have steak. Now we can do it 6 times a week instead of 7. But what we need to do is, one, we need to change our diet a little bit, right? Maybe include more seafood in it. We need to be more cautious and be more careful with our water consumption and our water wastage. We need to definitely be more careful with our electricity consumption or usage. We need to drive our cars more efficiently. So I'm a speed demon. I'm constantly running late, as you know, to meetings, and I'm constantly speeding. So what that does is, one, it hits me 2 ways. One, I end up using more gas, so I end up filling up more often. And 2, I'm now burning fossil fuels and I'm emitting to the environment. So really, electric cars have made a great headway. So if somebody's in the market for cars and if that fits their budget, then absolutely make that leap. And then you have 0 carbon emission on the transportation side. But like we talked about, electricity, it's the #1 contributor to climate change. So when it comes to that, be mindful of what we're using.
And what can we do about that electricity portion to save electricity?
A lot. So one, you can change to energy efficient lighting. It costs a little bit more, go complete LED.
LED, and what's the difference between what you're saving with an LED light versus a regular?
So generally, any dollars that you put into renewable energy or any dollars that you put into energy efficiency, you're going to make back in 5 years or less.
I heard they last longer.
25 years.
They last a long
20
time.
to 25 years,
I'm
right?
not going to have to change that light bulb out
You're
for 25
not,
years?
That's exactly right.
Everyone jokes that I don't know how to change that light bulb. No, I know that I have 25 years to figure it out.
Well, you won't have to, but your kids may not have to either. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of this, right? So they last a very, very long time. So, and you get your money back. Yeah, right? Because they save you money on energy. Anything that we do, look, I'm frugal, right? I love the environment, but at the end of the day, I know, even being in this industry, if I have to ask people to pay more to impact the environment, people are not going to do it, right? But if I can tell them, hey, look, do this, it might cost you a little bit more today, but you're going to get your money back and more, then we have a conversation. So that's where LED bulbs come into play. Another thing that I would highly encourage people to do is call up your energy provider and ask them what is the price difference between what you're at right now. In Texas, it's about 9.5% renewable, 91% regular fossil fuels, generally natural gas. So ask them, what's the cost to go 100% renewable, right? For some of my business clients.
And what does 100% renewable mean?
It's wind or solar, right? So at that point, right now about almost 50%, actually 48% of energy produced in Texas and consumed in Texas is made from natural gas. About similar numbers, about right around 40% is coal. So majority is produced through coal and natural gas, and that's what you're getting, about 91% from fossil fuels. But you can call, there's a lot of wind farms, there's a lot of solar farms. So you can call and ask your energy company, hey, do you provide 100% renewable product? And all of them do, almost all of them. And how much are you gonna charge me more?
What are the energy companies' renewable product?
So at that point, they sell you electricity that they purchase from a solar farm or wind farm.
Interesting. I didn't even know I had that option.
You do?
And I do want to ask you, Ali, because every 12 months or so, my contract will end. And it seems like the energy prices are increasing at least 1 or 2 cents. Is that what's happening for everyone all over the United States and even all over the world? Is energy getting more expensive?
Yes and no. So in Texas, we have some of the cheapest electric rates nationwide, period.
But it's still raising every year. Increasing.
Not really. Here's why. Okay, so
am I choosing the wrong company?
Perhaps. So here's what's happened. In 2014, natural gas peaked. So energy prices and electricity prices directly follow natural gas prices directly. So if natural gas goes up by a couple of cents today, a couple of millicents today, what's going to end up happening is tomorrow, electric prices are going to go up. Okay, so they literally follow natural gas. Natural gas peaked in 2014. Okay, so anybody, and let's talk commercial for a second because those numbers are easier. If you owned a business and you were in Texas and you signed a contract in 2014, you were Dallas area, you were probably paying 6 cents. Houston area, you were paying about half a cent more, so maybe 6.5 cents.
In 2014?
In 2014. in 2000, about 6 months ago, right, to end of 2015, early 2016, you were paying under 4 cents.
Oh, okay, so it's gone down. So I'm just not paying it.
No, not
so
true,
that's
but
for the
get
business
this.
owner, not the,
Get
for the
this.
homeowner?
It bottomed out. Well, so the homeowner should track, right, your energy. Homeowners, it's a little bit different because your price includes the delivery charges and distribution charges. Commercial, it doesn't include that. That's why I wanted to talk about raw electric prices, right? Now, but it bottomed out 6 months ago, and it's been going up since. So you're right, yes, they are going up, right? But from last year to this year, it should be, it should be a small increase and not a major increase. And the other part about energy prices is there are great websites like Power to Choose, and they are state regulated for consumers, for homeowners, where you can just go and shop and get details.
What's that website?
So it's powertochoose.org.
Powertochoose.org, and that way I can...
So it's a state-regulated website. You can go and you can compare different prices and rates. And you can do it based on how much you use, based on the area where you live. And now they're required to include your distribution fees. So back in the day, what they used to do was take out the distribution fees so they look cheaper than everybody else and then just pass those through.
Sneaky, sneaky.
So state caught on to them eventually and said, no, you can't do that anymore. So yeah, so it's a very good website, and that's a good resource for homeowners. Business owners, those options don't exist, and that's why they have a little bit more of a harder time, and I don't want to get into it. Okay.
So we've covered a lot of topics today on taking that personal responsibility, going vegetarian. Actually, we're not just going to live in a campsite to completely save the earth, but what can we do from a personal responsibility standpoint to really make a hard impact?
Absolutely. So we've talked about a lot of the smaller things we can do, using water wisely, using electricity wisely, maybe being more mindful of our meat eating consumption, but really the largest impact that you can make, because the largest deficit that we have is electricity, the largest impact that you can make is to go green completely.
How do we do that?
And of course, solar energy is a big part of that. So of course, look, I'm biased because this is what I do for a living, and I'm very passionate about solar energy. But with solar energy, we can reduce 70 to 90% of a person's electric bill and their consumption.
70 to 90%?
That's exactly right, 70 to 90%.
Immediately?
Immediately, absolutely.
Really? Just flip on the switch,
that's
use
right.
all the electricity.
You want, right? Hopefully you don't.
I can run the washing machine as many times and dry my hair and use a straightener and have the TV on in every single room.
No, you might be an exception. Your bill might go up after going solar, but for most people.
It probably would.
Right.
No.
For most people, yeah, if based on their consumption, we do the math, and what we do is we gauge it on 70 to 90% of their consumption. So if they were paying $200 a month in electric bill, now they're going to pay 50, 60 bucks, 40 bucks, right? 30 bucks or less.
Wow. You know how high my electricity bill was with the air conditioning, and I wasn't every TV on in the house? $300.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And I live in an older home.
Right. So that's one of the reasons is you have probably some inefficiencies in your home that some of the newer homes have already remedied. So your home would be a great candidate for some great energy efficiency audit and some great energy efficiency upgrades.